Thank you all for your
Right,
patience. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for coming to the in-person board reorganization meeting. We will immediately move into our normal committee meetings. So could I have a call to order, please, with roll call?
Yes. Armato,
Here.
Bearden,
Here.
Vital,
Here.
Hilton,
Here.
Kancianic,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Klein,
Here.
Lawrence,
Here.
Spence.
Present.
9 present, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Have a moment of silence. And the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's have minutes, please.
Madam President, I would like to present the minutes from the November 16th board meeting.
Thank you. Are there any patrons signed up to speak, please?
Not at this time, Madam President.
And not in person. Thank you very much. That being said, I'm asking for board action on the minutes. Could I have a motion to accept as presented?
So moved.
And second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So at this point, I will turn it over to Mrs. Oakley first. And we have to adjourn this current meeting. And I will ask that Mr. Kalis and Mrs. Oakley proceed from there. So I will ask for a motion to adjourn as is. Any second?
Second.
All opposed? Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Take it away, Mrs. Oakley.
Thank you. This reorganization this meeting was advertised to take place on this day, Thursday, December 7th, and the notice was advertised in our local newspaper on January 20th, 2023. And at this time, I'll take a roll call of our holdover board members. Armato,
Here.
Vital,
Here.
Kancianic. Here. And Spence.
Present.
Thank you. And at this time, I would like to ask for a temporary chairperson to preside over the meeting and administer the oath of office to our newly elected board members. So do I have a nomination for a temporary chairperson?
I nominate John Armato.
Okay. So I would like to take a roll call, hearing no other nominations, to close the nomination for temporary chair. So
And elect the temporary chair as presented.
close and elect the temporary chair as presented. Armato,
Aye.
Vital,
Aye.
Kancianic.
Aye.
And Spence.
Yes.
Mr. Armato, could you please preside over the meeting as temporary chair?
At this time, I would ask all re-elected board members to the podium to take the oath of office.
Okay.
Please place your left hand on your right. Repeat after me. State your name.
I,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties of this office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of this office with fidelity. Thank you, sir.
Mrs. Johnson. Good afternoon. State your name.
Laura Johnson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of this office with fidelity.
Congratulations. Don't go without your certificate.
Frameable, that's right.
Oh.
Wait, mine is not.
Yeah, that's. That's because I saw you.
You saw me standing. All right.
What? State your name.
I.
Listen, the questions get easy.
I, Susan Lawrence,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Congratulations. All right. Sit back.
Brave it.
Mr. Hilton. I've been looking so forward to you saying repeat after me. State your name.
I, Thomas Hilton,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support, defend, and something else.
What the heck?
The Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this country.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
And that I will discharge the duties of my office with.
Congratulations. Mr. Klein. State your name.
I, Steve Klein,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
that I will that I will
It's right
support,
there.
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America
And the Commonwealth, and the Constitution of the Commonwealth.
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth,
And that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Yeah.
Congratulations, board members. The municipal general election results held on November 7th, 2023 as follows. Katina Bearden, total 2,491. Laura Johnson, total 2,429. Susan Lawrence, total 2,366. Stephen Klein, total 2,257. And Thomas Hilton, total 2,136.
Roll call.
This time I'm going to take a roll call. Armato,
Here.
Bearden,
Here.
Heidel,
Here.
Hilton,
Here.
Kancianic. Here. Johnson.
Here.
Klein,
Here.
Lawrence. Here. Spence.
This is a roll call of,
It's all new.
It's the newly seated board, so we're moving into the second part of the meeting.
well, I am present
Attendance.
again.
Thank you.
Mhm.
9 present, we have a quorum.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask for nominations for the position of board president. Any board member may make a nomination, including a self-nomination.
I nominate Katina Bearden.
Are there any other nominations? Then I would say at this time, I would like to ask for a roll call vote to elect the board president.
Armato,
Aye.
Bearden,
Aye.
Heidel,
Aye.
Hilton,
Aye.
Kancianic.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Klein,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Spence.
No,
8 ayes, 1 nay, none absent, motion carried. Congratulations, Mrs. Bearden,
Thank you.
President.
Mrs. Bearden, at this time, I would be happy to. bring this back.
Thank you. So at this time, I would also like to take the nominations for vice president. Can I have a motion or a nomination, please?
I nominate Steve Klein.
Second. Oh, sorry. We don't- Sorry.
Any other nominees? Okay, and I will ask that this opening of nominees be closed. And I would ask for a vote, a first and second first.
So move.
Second. And a roll call vote, please.
Johnson.
Aye.
Heidel,
Aye.
Hilton,
Aye.
Kancianic.
Aye.
Klein,
Aye.
Spence,
no,
Lawrence,
Aye.
Bearden,
Aye.
Armato.
Aye.
8 ayes, 1 nay, motion carried.
Thank you. Would also like to take this opportunity to have an appointment of our parliamentarian. And I would like a motion to appoint. Yep, Mr. Kalis. I'm ready to call him Steven, but I'll say Mr. Kalis. So could I have a motion to accept that parliamentarian?
So moved.
Second.
I have all in favor
Aye.
and any opposed?
I oppose. Is there any other option other than the same one we had for like 20 years?
We can always submit a name for parliamentarian, and that can be reviewed and voted on by the board.
Isn't that something that we should have done before this meeting?
Well, if at this meeting, anyone wanted to make that motion or put a name forth, we certainly could do that. And so you're welcome to make a.
So I don't know any lawyers. So I don't have a name.
So we have a motion to approve and a second, and I will ask that we do an all in favor.
I'm not all in favor though. I'm opposed.
You can always
Yeah.
say opposed. You can. So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Thank you. So noted. Mrs. Oakley?
Thank you. At this time, we do not need authorization to move forward as our signature stamp will stay in use as it remains.
Thank you. As normal, with any new board that's seated, regardless of presidents, We have committee assignments, and I will ask that everyone decide where they would like to be. If they want to retain their current positions on their current committees, or if they would like to change, and also if they are interested in any other positions that we should add as liaisons to our board for other additional boards, including Borough Council. So that will be listed in our January workshop, and hopefully everyone can email me before then with your desires and where you would like to be.
Thank you, Madam President. Attached is the 2024 board committee meeting dates. And that is, pretty much remains the same from the 2023, but all of the actual dates are listed for board meetings as the third Thursday of each month, with our 2 workshops noted as well.
Our committee meetings, as mentioned earlier, will follow right after this board reorg, which will begin with policy personnel as normal, and curriculum and co-curricular will move immediately behind that. Our next regularly scheduled board meeting is December 21st, again at 6:30 p.m. And that is also in person here. So I will ask for roundtable comments, and consider we're moving into the curriculum and policy personnel committee meetings. I would ask that our comments be brief. So we will go ahead and start with Ms. Spence.
I like this part of the meeting, roundtable, because I know if I like something, it's gonna go away. So I think that we should radically change our mindset as we go into the new year. Unfortunately, we're going into the new year with the same leadership. I think new leadership also refreshes a board or any public office. And it's not that anything personal against any of you, except for you, Mr. Klein. It's that it revitalizes and renews our commitment towards our students, our teachers, our administrators. And staying with the same status quo for many years is only stagnating us, not only as a school district, but as a community. And if we can't see that, unfortunately, that is sad. Thank you for allowing me to make my comment.
Thank you. Mr. Heidel.
Well, congratulations to the newly elected members. Congratulations, Madam President, Mr. Vice President. Gonna be a good year, I think. I really do. We're not going into the year thinking about raising taxes. We're not going into the year with a bunch of things hanging over our heads. So forward to it.
Mr. Hilton.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Khan.
Nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Johnson.
Congratulations again. And I'm looking forward to continuing, to serve with this board. I really appreciate all the people here.
Thank you. Mrs. Lawrence.
I second that. Congratulations to our leaders and looking forward to it too.
Thank you. Mr. Armato.
Yeah, I'll add my congratulations, and I will add that our board has done a very good job the past year with governance, with being able to find places where we agree and find places where we can amicably disagree and move forward with the most important thing in mind, and that is the success of our children.
Thank you. Mrs. Canciano.
I'm not gonna say congratulations because we're not supposed to repeat. But I will say, I look forward to this year. I think the people in this room put a lot of hard work in, and we need to remember who we're doing this for, the students, not our own personal feelings. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez.
No, thank you.
Thank you. So I will say, I understand and I agree. At times when you are not aware of other journeys and other actions of board members, whether on the board now or prior members, usually it's a misinterpretation. And so you don't know what you don't know until you don't know it. So that being said, I will ask that we adjourn this meeting and move into our policy and personnel. All in favor? I should have asked for a motion, right?
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
There you go. There you go.
All in favor again, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.
Change seats or blow the room before we leave, that's fine, before we start. I won't take it personally.
I'm not.
Oh.
Charlie, have anywhere to sit? We can swap seats. Are you, I'm on it, right? I was gonna say, I'm not on this one, so I need to. Well, I'm gonna stay, but. I was gonna. That's what I was thinking about, but I don't know where. I know, that's why I'm like, I know, maybe I'll just sit there. Yeah, that's fine. I'll just move down, yeah. John, which committee are you on the shop?
Which one's it?
That's all. I was going to.
Like,
How's it going?
Take off those days.
I know.
No, I'm gonna send stuff back. Gift card.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go.
Have a good night.
Yeah, but he didn't.
No, that's good. Take care of these. Thank you. Yep.
Maybe.
Oh,
It's been next year.
Oh, I gotta go get it. So while we're waiting to get started, you might want to open up the agenda and also the proposal, which is or the proposal and also the policy that we're reviewing. Because I don't know if it'll be on the screen. I don't know if we're sharing screens tonight. I don't know how that works in here.
Michelle, maybe Michelle went back to her office to share.
Oh, it's good.
We could follow. We have it.
There's so much candy.
It's on the agenda that we just were on. Good evening. I'd like to call the December 7th, 2023 Personnel and Policy Committee to order. We have not a short agenda tonight, but we have one policy, and then we're going to continue with the proposal for recruitment of Black educators memo. Are there any public comments for our meeting tonight?
Not at this time, Mr. Klein.
Anybody here that wants to comment? Okay, Mr. Boyer, the first thing on the agenda then is policy 189.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Good evening, school board members. If you click on the link, you'll see policy 189. I think that's a typo. It should be policy 819. I apologize.
Okay,
This policy is suicide awareness, prevention, and response. It's not a new policy, but it's been updated through PSBA. If you scroll through it, there's a lot of updates that have taken place. And if you scroll to the bottom of the policy, you'll see I provided a box at the bottom, which is basically says why PSBA is recommending that we adopt this policy with all the new language in it. So, I mean, I'm not gonna read it word for word, but
The bulleted points with the revisions of the policy include the definition section has been significantly expanded. Basically to promote consistency and understanding of the terminology throughout the policy. The delegation of responsibility section was added to the policy to address the development of stricter administrative guidelines. It also incorporates, and you'll see this at the end of the policy, all of the school safety and security trainings and specifically related to the Safe to Say initiative. And I don't know if the board is aware of what Safe to Say is. If you're not, I can easily explain it to you. But it is.
Committee members, are you aware?
Could you, we have received word, but could you just please reiterate it?
So Safe to Say is an anonymous reporting system from the state where a child, really anybody can report anonymously, you know, any type of incident that relates to bullying, suicide. Those alerts then go to administration and they're charged to investigate those reports and either validate them, invalidate them, and then you have to actually report back and close them out to the Safe to Say line.
And if I can make a further comment, I was able to attend a briefing recently on school safety, and I actually heard from the captain or commander in the state police who was put in charge of this program. If Governor Shapiro were to go down in history as you know, his most positive thing, I think, even though he kind of got it started when he was the Attorney General, this is the thing. Not only has Safe to Say had incredible success, it's gotten more popular and it's become the vehicle to stop some of the school violence that we have seen to the point that it has revealed to school districts. As school district leaders speak with one another, we have been able to say, you know, privately, we realized we had issues that nobody knew about on the surface, but because of the Safe to Say reporting mechanism, they were revealed and we were able to change culture and deal with issues and whatnot. And if you look at school safety issues out of the 50 states, we are in the very lowest threshold of states, even though we are number 5. So that is something to be said. I have to say I'm very impressed with the program. And if I may answer the next question committee members may have, our students do and community don't actually use Safe to Say a whole lot. We get a couple of reports here and there, whereas many others get more. But as we looked into that and compared ourselves, that's because we have some pretty open lines of communication already. We have a lot of staff members who are present on social media, and some, you know, so we kind of established channels, and perhaps it was out of necessity, but we established channels before Safe to Say, but we're still fully engaged in it and still promote it. And we can, you know, we definitely have been on the positive receiving end of some information as it relates to things going on with kids that we wouldn't have known about otherwise. So we're grateful for the program.
Thank you.
There's also a number of updates in this section of the policy related to methods of prevention, methods of assessment, interventions. It does provide clarification with collaboration efforts within the school. And if you look in the policy itself, and I know the policy is very long and lengthy, but we check boxes in probably every category of this policy. And then it's also, there's a number of expanded links related to crisis resources, and those links in the policy are in blue that I put in there and highlighted. Basically, crisis resources, national resources, Pennsylvania resources, and then the list goes on and on. It's very cumbersome. I mean, it's not it's very inclusive to exactly what is advertised that people can access. But the policy itself, a lot of it, is terminology and language based to basically expand, what we need to do for prevention and then also what we need to do with just providing the services. I don't know if anybody has any questions specific to the policy that I can answer.
Can you just clarify what the things with the X's mean? Like, why are some things Xed and some things aren't?
Those are things that I went through with Dr. White
Okay,
that are in place in our district already.
okay, so the ones that are not Xed are the ones we don't have.
They're the ones that we don't have, and they're the ones that, also that we're looking to curtail and involve. But we can't technically check them yet.
Okay. I mean, I think, obviously I think this is important, and I just kind of feel like we need to even go farther. I would love to, maybe with my curriculum committee, if I can keep doing it, to figure out what kind of a curriculum we're using and to actually have a curriculum that deals with this as part of whether that's a health class or whatever it looks like, but I don't even think it should just be suicide prevention. I think it needs to be just mental health in general. And maybe a specific curriculum that we could be using, and that might be something we can look at with my committee down the road, but because I think all of those are important that's here, and there's really no such thing as doing too much here.
Agree.
Ryan's taking a note over there.
Any other questions from Mr. Boyer? Do we have recommendation to move policy 819 forward to the board as a whole, meeting as a whole?
Do we want to move it forward as it is, or do we want to table it until we have further review from?
Well, that might take a while. I mean, I think that we're doing what we're doing, which is fine. I just think we could maybe make something more specific down the road, like a real actual curriculum as part of, whatever mental health they're doing now. Of course, I'm not honestly sure.
The curriculum is usually fluid. You don't usually put that in policy.
Yeah, yeah. So I think this is good as like the baseline, and then we can always, go farther. At least that's how I feel.
Move forward with it. Mr. Hilton?
I'm not on the committee, I just.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should know that. Mrs. Spence?
I'm okay with it.
Mrs. Lawrence?
I'm fine.
Mrs. Bearden? Mr. Armato? Okay, let's move forward with that, Mr. Boyer. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
The next item on the agenda is, if you recall, November's meeting, we went through the proposal for recruitment and retention of Black educators in our district submitted by Mrs. Spence. And we did not get all the way through. I think we were ready to start on number 8. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So do you want to?
8 or 9? 8 or 9?
I think it was 8. I'm pretty sure it was 8.
Any comments before we move forward on the first 7 that you thought of or wish you would have said?
Well, some of the comments in the document itself that you put in, Mr. Boyer, you said you were already doing it. Is that so? Like, did you continue with it? And if so, how many Black educators did we recruit since the last meeting?
Did we recruit and hire?
Yes.
I don't recall offhand. I don't have an exact number of hires.
Are we gonna track this, or is this just gonna be
Track, I don't know, track hires.
track, meaning how many Black educators are we gonna hire from this point on until the end of time, as long as there's a public school system?
Well, we certainly could track it. I don't know, guarantee how many were hired, like if we have a goal, I don't have that established.
Yeah, but to Ms. Spencer's point, if we're making this an initiative, then we ought to be able to say at any point in time, from the beginning that we started making this an initiative to now, we have hired X number. That I think is a fair question.
Yes, agreed. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely we can track it. I don't know where we would keep it at, but definitely we can can show progress.
Would we like to track it and have it, metric for every committee meeting? Is that what we're looking to do, that we kind of keep a pulse in it? Do we have a cycle that we're looking like every 3 months, 6 month, 9 month period?
I think the movement for teachers is probably greatest during the summer months. We might replace a position or two here. I mean, we're happy to have the numbers. One of the issues that we have had is that our previous system did not easily allow us. We essentially had to print out a report and sit there and do it by hand, because most HR programs don't allow you to track by race. So we have done, the board has asked in the past, and we have done those reports, but those reports were done by hand. So we would have to look at our software programs to see exactly how we would do that. But I would suggest that probably monthly might not be helpful. But once every 6 months or annually would probably be better. And we can track different classifications of employees, or just track teachers. It's fine by me. We just have to figure out exactly how to do that and how to report it.
So if it's once a year, then can we do another metric such as how many times, and we could just pick randomly anything from here, an ambassador went to a HBCU and did a presentation, or how many times there was a job fair for the demographic that you're looking, like maybe we can track that instead of.
That's a great idea.
Okay.
I mean, we talk all the time about, database decisions.
Yes.
Well, we need the data, so.
Or would you recommend that we look at tracking all hires? So what in my head, I'm trying to set something up that we would track.
Well, I mean, I think we kind of took that off of the table because the hiring is done in the summer. So I'm talking about like ongoing for the next few months anyway. Can we track how often are we pursuing this initiative with any of these bullet points? It could be all, it could be what's doable over the next, let's say, 3 months.
Yeah. If the committee wills it, I would suggest that give us some time when we come back together again. We can maybe put together a couple of metrics that make sense on just one sheet so that everybody can see it. I think that would be very helpful. And it would help the committee to potentially learn, what and ourselves, what's effective and what's not effective. If we're doing something over and over again and we're not seeing any numbers rise, well, then maybe we need to stop doing that and look at putting our emphasis elsewhere. So that to me is the whole power of data-driven decision-making, and I'm in favor of it.
Okay, but you lost me for a little bit because you're not actively tracking who's the demographic, right? So if that's not being actively tracked, at least before in the past, how are we gonna know what you did before?
I'm suggesting that you give us an opportunity to figure out how we can track it and regularly report.
Okay, sounds good.
One of the metrics I think I'd be interested in is retention also, not just the hiring.
Yeah, I think with previous boards, I know discussion was, well, how about we would suggest something and say, well, we did that and we did that more than, well, did we do it one time? Did we do it 2 times? Like, how often were we doing this? Before we decided that we were gonna pull back and go in a different direction. So that metric itself wasn't there. So this is a good print to lay out to actually see what we, as opposed to, we have our current team, right? And then someone transitions and they say, well, we know this didn't work in the past, but it could work in the future. And how did we go about it, right? So I think things go in cycles. Something that worked before could be cyclical, that it doesn't work now. And now we need to switch it up and actually do the exact opposite. So I think this is good. And I'd like to see how whatever you put together, certainly the committee can look at it and say, this doesn't really work for what we were thinking or tweak it or something to that degree.
Good ideas, thank you. So, Mr. Boyer, we've gone through 7. Can we continue with the same process on the first 7 on number 8, please?
Sure. So number 8 was community mentorship and training hub. There was 2 bullets underneath that related to community classes, localized recruitment. So currently, we have these organizations that function with, within our schools in different capacities. So what we have looked at is we have FLAMO, a pastors coalition, an organization called Molding Men, Leading Ladies, Strive, the Big Brothers and Big Sisters program. We have a GED program out of the YWCA and a Career Link program. I don't know if anyone on the committee has anything outside of that, that we might be able to investigate.
Possibly Greek organizations. We have a lot of leading, Greek organizations that are in leadership positions, financial ties in our area. That could certainly be a reach touch point.
And you're saying those organizations are specific, because I know Strive is a mentorship program, so that's not a class to teach how to become a teacher. I mean, I'm certainly he can, and that organization can touch on that, but community-based classes like that specifically say, this is what you need to do if you're interested in becoming a teacher or encourage to become a teacher.
Yes, you're correct. He was simply reporting what we currently have, not that there is, to our knowledge, nothing, there is no provider that will take on people and give them education specific to education at this time.
Right.
I mean,
There's
there's,
something there that we could, with Moscow, I was gonna say.
I mean, there is Monco, but Monco has its own programs. So I mean, really, I guess we could and should include that.
Right,
Because that
because
is
like
community
nobody,
classes.
I've been talking to the dual enrollment person there now that we're trying to get more of people into education. So that would be a perfect,
Yeah.
angle there.
Does anyone else have any, for number 8? Now I can move on to, number 9.
Well, I mean, I think you can utilize the library as a resource to actually teach. Because, I mean, not everyone's comfortable going into the college, even though they've done a great job of changing it around, making it really friendly. But it can be intimidating, but the library is not. So maybe teach adults at the library instead of at the college, even though it could be in conjunction with college. Just another idea of incorporating this public places and spaces we already have. That is free. I don't think Monco Community College is free. It's probably really expensive at this point, but using the public spaces that we already have, like the library, and utilize that for classes is another idea.
Right. Yeah, I'm listed in here. Who else have any other ones? Number 9 is Spotlight Series, celebrating Black excellence in education. Some bulleted points related to a web series, featuring Black educators, podcasts, series, discussing education, diversity, challenges, and success stories. We do have currently here, Strive does offer a podcast series, and that's really out of our middle school right now.
Yeah, I think they do, they have a podcast room.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that should be easy to do.
Yeah, agreed. We already, have a platform kind of established for that, already.
Is that room only for Strive, or can other teachers in the school use it?
I don't know.
I think it's bought with Strive dollars, so to speak.
Okay.
So it's not like it's their room, they're using our space. But I think that, we would need to coordinate with Mr. Charles if someone else. I don't think the answer would be no with him. He likes to say yes and, coordinate, but we would have to, go through that. But yeah, I think this is one of those, what I would call developing ideas, like we have an opportunity to do this. It would just be a matter of coordinating with some of his requirements for his grant, his board, et cetera. And marrying that, and Strive will be, hopefully visiting with us, soon, in one of our December meetings.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any other ideas for number 9?
I think we should, have conversations with our current Black educators as well as other educators about what their ideas are, what their success stories are, what their, I know that the podcast mentions their successes and so forth. So I think we should ask them while we're formulating this versus just, utilizing their highlights, what they think we should utilize to move forward with this. I think their experience is real key, what their ideas are and how we need to frame this and form it.
Board, I'm gonna put you on the spot, and you might not know the answer to this, but other people may be able to come up with names around the table. Black educators in the district who are from the district. How many?
A lot.
We have a lot.
Well, a lot, which is to say, if you take the percentage of Black teachers, that percentage who also went to Pottstown, I would say is a decent percentage. I don't know what it would be unless I went through, but just in my head.
I don't need
I'm
the
gonna guess.
percentage, but that would be a very valuable group to sit down and talk with.
I will say, and it's something that we would like to revisit, but we have done that. We've met with them actually multiple times. And we did it while doing grant work with the Foundation for Potts. Help me, Matt.
Foundation.
No, not Joe, the Wellness,
Wellness.
Health and Wellness Foundation was looking to do a retention grant on our behalf, because I had spoken publicly about it and said that, one of our great needs is to get more Black educators in education. And Health and Wellness said, this is something that we believe would help Pottstown, and we're responsible for these 10 miles. So they don't just have gobs of money that they can throw at it. What they do is they connect with national partners who might want to do that work. So they interviewed us. We met with our Black teachers at all levels. Mr. Boyer had how many meetings? 2, 3?
I think it was 2 meetings. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were very honest with us about the challenges and quite frankly, the things they had to overcome to get into education. And one of them is, the biggest is salary.
Yeah.
And that's not to say salary because of Pottstown, that's to say salary because the work world pays so much more than education. So am I correct that was one of the biggest themes that came out of that?
Yeah, that was one of the things that was talked about by multiple people.
Right now, college educated minorities are highly sought after. And that is a challenge for all of us. Nevertheless, time has passed. You never know when bringing groups of people together, how we might be able to tweak something.
And just, because I went to a teaching school, one of the things that, my peers who are superintendents down, have discussed is their difficulty with culture, right? So they can have all of the degrees and all of the intelligence and all of the, desire to make the difference, but where they are positioned, for whatever reason, it's not a fit they don't feel that that's where they belong, and they will go wherever it is that they do feel they belong, even if they start in one area. They could move clear across the United States, regardless of salary, to be where they feel more in tune and more comfortable. And that's difficult, right? It's difficult to give that piece because you experience it in corporate life, right? And it's not much difference really in the education sector. It's difficult, it's difficult.
Well, one of the, like, what you're saying, and another one of the things that were mentioned in that group that we spoke to was, you know, the mentorship involved in entering the school district with people you're comfortable with was one of the things that was mentioned a lot. So it's kind of along that same line.
So to that specific point, to me, that just reemphasizes more work that we have to do in the district with the students that we have today about coming back, because the likelihood of them feeling at home when they are at home is a lot greater than somebody moving here from wherever.
Yeah.
Good discussion on this, thank you.
Anything else on, number 9?
I think we should help develop the networking. I think we should be showcasing our leads in a direction that, we do more to give them touch points in. I know it's been mentioned in different continents, but I think we should be more active in creating a network for them where they have touch points with others who are in possibly similar situations. That even if they don't feel where they are, for instance, in Pottstown, if a Black educator does not feel accepted or immersed in the district enough that they have other peers that they can reach out with. There's different networks that sometimes they just don't have the time to make those touch points because they're too busy dealing with what they're dealing with on day to day. So if we can help search out those networks and create some relationships there, where our leaders are not only being connected to learn, but also that they can share with others what they've learned and be a sort of light for other educators who may be starting out where they once were, and our educators can tag on to someone who maybe is further along and what they are able to do. It could be even they don't, it doesn't mean that we have to have 100 or 500, a set number of staff, though we know students perform better when they see themselves. We know this. But sometimes you have to look through a lens that's a little differently shaped in order to create what you need. So perhaps that network where they're able to ping, the same way our students were pinging and virtually learning, our educators, we can do something there to network. There are several organizations, the White House Initiative certainly has several touch points to help.
And it's already in this document, number 4, I don't remember if you were here last time, but there is already a organization like that. It's called the Center for Black Educator Development, and it's the Black Teacher Pipeline. They have a whole website with a lot of information on it, also a lot of resources to hire anyone that's in that pipeline.
Absolutely. No, I was here and yes, I saw it. What I'm referring to is helping and being that arm.
Well, they do
to
mentorship too.
That we actually extend and help partner and help that network, that we provide a level of outreach that supports, that we tie our staff in with these organizations. just in and of itself, saying that these organizations exist when they have time that's set aside for them to do X, Y, and Z isn't always right, apropos. Sometimes we have to make an additional touch for them to support them, is what I'm saying, is what I'm suggesting. There are several networks.
Number 10.
Number 10, please.
Number 10 is entrepreneurial opportunities in education. 2 bullets, business and education, facilitate opportunities for Black educators to integrate with educational practices and collaborative venues, collaborate with Black-owned companies for mutual beneficial partnerships. Here in our high school CP program, you know, we have Black-owned businesses in Pottstown where we do explore partnerships. But I don't know if anyone has any ideas for number 10.
I think you're not reading that correctly. So that business and education, meaning given that the salary is really low for Black educators, right? Just education overall, it's low compared to corporate, like you discussed earlier. There's a way to integrate entrepreneurial ventures for that educator to figure out a way to merge it together so that they can increase their salary and still enjoy what they do in teaching. For example, they can start a tutoring business, an online tutoring business. If you speak a different language, you can do interpretation, you know, nights and weekends or whatever. Just trying to think that there should be a way to help them supplement that low salary. So, and still do what they love, and that's helping encourage young minds and being a mentor, so to speak, to them. So I think you read it in a different type of way.
So you're suggesting that the school district be able to provide a couple of those opportunities so that Black educators who work for us can have access to that?
I don't think I'm saying that the school district should do that. I don't think you want to be in the business of helping somebody start a business.
Okay.
But I'm saying like, as far as like, giving them, with the mentorship program, other ways to supplement their salary. It doesn't have to come from the school district, right? But, workshops on entrepreneurial ideas, maybe even stuff for the summer that they can do. So I'm not saying that this should be implemented by the school. Yes, give these Black educators the opportunity to profit off of the school system, not at all. Just saying that there are other ways for them to supplement their income if they had an entrepreneurial mindset.
Sure.
I appreciate that because I didn't understand it that way either, and I really like that. Thank you.
Mhm.
So we already have a number of teachers. And I don't know what color they all are, but we already have a number of teachers who have their own businesses in addition to teaching. So providing instruction for people how to start a business, essentially.
And maybe mentor those positive deviants who have already done it in our system.
Yep. Matter of fact, that's not unusual to have educators who also have side businesses.
I mean, you sort of have to because of the salary
Yeah.
so low.
Yeah, I venture a guess there's a number of them in our district.
Yeah, there.
Yes.
Anything else with number 10 that I can add? Idea. Number 11 is tailoring benefits with cultural relevance. 2 bulleted points. The first one is cultural festivals. Sponsor and participate in cultural festivals and events, establishing a presence and network within the Black community. Recognition and rewards. Recognize and reward educators in formats that are both professionally and culturally significant. Here at Pottstown, some of the things that we felt related to this were cultural festivals and cultural relevance events that Pottstown School District participates in. YWCA Black Lives Matter, our art department participated in that. Juneteenth Festival, Hispanic Heritage Month, here in October. Various Black History Month activities throughout that are spearheaded by our teachers. Our early college entrance program focuses on diversity. Career fair with local Black-owned businesses and representatives. We thought with, career weeks, we have invited alumni to speak to our students and, college visits to HBCUs and et cetera, or some things that we could begin. I don't know if anyone has any ideas that I can list here as well.
Well, I looked at the district having a cultural diversity and inclusion curriculum. I know that's oftentimes been regarded as pushing a specific curriculum, but that's the exact opposite of what it was. It was a celebration of the cultures and actually having an understanding and a teaching and a learning of all of the cultures. So students understood what things would be offensive, what things would not be offensive, what things are enjoyed, not just at, say, holiday time, right? And then a part of that was that they have shared foods and shared disciplines and shared, things where they learn about the culture, and culture and race are not the same. A lot of times that is also created as a synonymous piece. They're not the same. But our district didn't have that piece. We didn't have the funding and the support and the staffing to have an actual curriculum. So we looked at having an event. We talked about having something where we could have an around the world sort of opportunity where the, student, staff, community could interact, sort of like a fair. I kind of don't like to use the word fair because it's kind of kiddish, but we talked about doing that, and then it fell by the wayside. And the reason was because we had so many other pressing things that it just kind of wasn't something we could focus on at the time, right? So perhaps there's something that we can not just be present at, but that as it's listed here, that we can actually create and bring in other partnerships that we have. There's so many different organizations in our town that we don't know about. And so if we have one item out of a year, a festival out of a year where we're bringing in other organizations, we're inviting other organizations within the town to say, hey, all the organizations, please submit your information. And this is directly to support our students and our community. A shared partnership with wellness, not that we're having to take on the whole thing, because we're in the business of educating, safely educating our students and preparing them for the next level of success. But we also are looking at the whole student, right? So we focus primarily on what our main is, but if we can partnership with some other groups, we could have something that's really educational for all of us, the whole town, the whole community. I like that idea.
Yeah, me too. Other ideas? Number 12, right?
Correct.
12 is artistic expression and education. There were two bullets, artistic platforms, create platforms where Black educators can merge with creative talents, with teaching practices. Cultural art programs, establish art programs that explore and celebrate the diversity of Black cultures and histories. I went through some things with the art department chair, Mrs. Yoder, and I listed basically what they have explored and currently have studied and referenced in art K to 12. So there is a bulleted list of authors, but also underneath the list of authors on here, she listed projects specific to a variety of cultures throughout history and time periods, such as Indonesia, Africa, South America, Canada, and Europe. Those lessons are also integrated within grade level and subject curriculum. For example, in 5th grade, there is some things related to Native Americans. We also have a partnership and contracts with the Lincoln Center for Creative Art Therapy and connections with Montgomery County Community College with various events that they organize related to art shows that focus on specific social issues. But outside of that, I don't know if the committee has ideas that we could definitely explore as well.
Well, I mean, you would have to reach out to the Black educators in the school district to see if they do art, or if they have any other creative talents.
And that goes with all our teachers, not just our Black teachers. I mean, so if they can incorporate something in their classroom through their creative talents to bring that lesson alive, hopefully they're already doing that. I mean, I would think they're encouraged by the administration to do that. I think that's one that we're encouraging, but it depends on the individual educator and how comfortable they feel sharing their talent.
I'm sure that other educators in the school district are showing their creative talent, but this is specifically about the recruitment and retention of Black educators. So if Black educators would be able to bring to life using their creative talents why they became a teacher and encourage others to become a teacher, that's the purpose of why that's in there. I'm sure all these things are done as a whole in the school district with every teacher, but this is specifically to recruit and retain Black teachers and highlight their experiences to encourage other students to become teachers and in the wider community, the wider Pottstown community, to come work for the school district, become a teacher.
Of course.
Anything else with number 12? Number 13 is gamified recruitment process. 2 bulleted with virtual reality VR experience, develop VR experiences that showcase a day in the life of a teacher in the district. Engagement through gamification, use gamified elements in recruiting process to make it more interactive and engaging. We don't have any direct program or matches to number 13.
That would be something that maybe the engineering department can come up with.
Do you have like an example, something that I could talk to them about that you're aware of?
You're not familiar with virtual reality? You put on like some goggles, boom, boom, and in the goggles, you see an
Okay, like-
experience.
I get it. I think they were. I saw people buying those at Costco. They're big goggles.
Yeah, it's like $350-ish,
Yeah.
and it's for mega.
Yeah.
I have seen in another school district, I was able to observe how they essentially have adopted esports. As you can.
Monco has it. They have a whole esports
really?
room.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I just have a question, and it's probably obvious, and I'm probably just missing it. Wondering about the connection between virtual reality and gaming and recruiting Black educators. Could you help me understand that?
Because if you could do a day in the life of a Black teacher, their experience is different. I mean, our experience in this world is different from any other, right? So if they can share that experience of how they get through the day, how they relate to students, how they deal with barriers, how they deal with racism, how do they interact with other teachers, how do they overcome all of that stuff? And even the money issue, and still want to continue to be a teacher. And if you could do that in a fun kind of way with a VR or in a game.
So it's really, I guess, again, when I read it, I had a different image, but what if I'm understanding correctly, it's really the virtual storytelling of a day in the life of a Black educator.
Right,
Is that
to
right?
encourage young people who do virtual reality and gaming all day long, even watch other people play all day long. So,
thank you.
in that realm.
Anyone else have any ideas?
I'm just thinking that if we're to change the direction of our initiative, our students getting on up to level, we gotta be creative and innovative. And, we may not play video games, but, young people do.
Oh, yeah.
Even girls, they play a lot.
Oh, I know, yeah.
So-
This is-
It's just another way that they find a way in the world. And if we're not embracing that, just like I talked about esports 2 years ago, and I'm really excited that Monco has it, but I think we should have been the one to initiate that, for Monco. It would have been cool anyway, but, I mean, they have a room now, so we can maybe use it. Since we do send students to go bowl, like 10 of them, right? We could send them to go and do a team. Because you can be tall, short, you could be disabled, and you can still compete at the same level as any other students. With football, if you're too skinny, you're not gonna, the coach is not gonna put you in, right? And if you're really short, it's gonna be hard to play basketball, right? So, but you can be all of these things and still compete, in an esports team, which I think is really cool.
I think it's really cool too, and I would say stay tuned.
Okay, good.
Anything else for that one, Mrs. Spence?
No,
Number 14 is Teacher Innovation Hub, 2 bullet points, collaboration space. Establish a physical or virtual space where teachers can collaborate, innovate, and develop new teaching methods. Funding for ideas, create a fund to support innovative ideas from teachers to enhance the educational experience. And we didn't have any direct matches for that. But I don't know if anyone has any ideas I can list.
do you think maybe, bring in the foundation for this one? I mean, they collect money all the time, right? So maybe they can have some type of an award system for the teacher that comes up with the most innovative idea to recruit and retain, these teachers that we talk about.
We can absolutely suggest that to them.
Do they award grants to teachers for ideas?
They have a system that they use, so if a teacher has a certain idea, one is, and since we have a bunch of middle school folks in the room, I can talk about this. One is to visit is it Spirit of Philadelphia? Spirit of Philadelphia. So teachers put together the request, they talk about the specific educational connections. And then ask, I believe what they asked for was the transportation, because it's down in Philadelphia. And then the foundation board gets together and they say, all right, do we have money in STEM? Do we have money for history? Do we have money for arts? They have buckets, just like everybody else. And based on the need, they do their very best to say yes. Obviously, they can't always, but based on the need, they'll support as much as they can. Yeah.
That's a very viable idea, that is a.
Just as a reminder, and this is for a committee chair, according to our timer, we have about 9 minutes left if we're sticking to the 1 hour.
No, we need to stick to the 1 hour, so we'll go out 5 more minutes, and then we have to wrap up and open up for public comment. And I want to apologize, I didn't realize all the guests were here for curriculum. We could have moved, maybe switch these meetings around. I'm sorry you sat with that. Hopefully it's not too boring for you. They're not sleeping yet, so that's good.
15, micro-credentialing and badge system. 2 things, skill badges, implement a micro-credentialing system where teachers earn badges for acquiring new skills or contributing to the community, recognition, honor teachers at public events, and on digital platforms for their achievements and impact. And currently participate in micro-credentialing system. We honor teachers at public events, our digital platforms, social media, but we have other ideas that we can explore for, this, definitely I can list them here as well. Go on to number 16. Talent Pipeline Program, High School Teaching Academics. Developing teaching academics with high school to groom students for teaching careers. Fast Track Program. Create a Fast Track Program for paraprofessionals to become certified teachers. Monco, we're in participation with a Para Pathway Program recently. I don't know exactly where that's at right now.
And I can speak to this. Other states have had better success with this. This is a great idea, one that I would like to see happen. One of our roadblocks is that Pennsylvania is, I think, the 2nd or 3rd hardest state in the union. Yeah, state in the union to become an educator. It probably has to do with the fact that we're an older state. But we've been working on this. Mr. Boyer isn't taking a lot of credit, but he and others have done a lot of behind the scenes work to try and get a program up and running. And in the beginning of the school year, we made mention, and everyone was supportive of some programming that the county and the state were going to dump money in. And as is the case with most politics, all of their promises are falling far short of the actual delivery. So we're upset by that, but we met not too long ago and said, this is terrible. We're going to see what we can do on our own. So again, something that committee members / board members, since most of you are in the room, could look forward to is some potential suggestions that would cost money to help those who are in the paraprofessional ranks get through to the educator level. I will say that in terms of shortcuts, there's no real shortcuts. The state is not letting up on any of their requirements. They say that we're going to ease it, but all the easement that they give is like, well, we can round to the nearest nickel. It's like, okay, guys, thanks. That didn't really help me. They're not giving us the things that we're asking for. And as you can see, I have an opinion on this. I'd love to be able to give credit to some level of experience. If you've been a mom for 20 years, that ought to count for something. But that's not what's coming out of the credentialing office, which, Matt, maybe you remember what they are. I remember it was Teresa, somebody that I would call and yell at and say, I need the emergency cert. So they are difficult, and from their perspective, they're like, listen, this stuff is codified in law. It's not like we can just say yes to you because you've got a great person. But I absolutely agree. This is something that we should support and potentially ask in other in other venues.
Didn't Shapiro said he was gonna give 2,000 or 3,000 if you became a teacher or a nurse or something like that?
Many words were spoken.
And if you're a teacher pre-K, you need the same certification if you teach in high school?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. It's a different certification. Pre-K is a different animal, and I would say that is the one area where, depending upon the program, if you're a pre-K teacher in what I'll call a community-based program, basically you can do that with an associate's degree.
Okay.
But as soon as you jump up to a pre-K counts program, like the one that we get a lot of, to the tune of what is it, $1 point something million. We get a lot of money, which we would not be able to do pre-K counts without that. They require a higher level of certification, but it is not as high as some of our regular ed folks, especially at the high school level. Great question.
Mr. Boyer, I suggest we start with number 16 next time.
Okay.
Till we got Mr. Rodriguez off of the soapbox.
Sorry.
We used up all the remaining time.
Sorry.
So, not a problem. So let's pick up there next time, because I want to comment on the high school teaching academies. I've had some experience with similar things.
Yeah.
So we'll pick up at number 16 in February, because January is workshop month.
Yes.
It seems like forever, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we'll pick up on number 16 in February. Just for the committee's knowledge, Mr. Boyer is going to share with us his compilation of things that we're doing when we're through the list. And also then, because what our next step after we're through the list is to figure out how we can best use our funding to change what we're doing. VR sounds really cool, but it sounds really expensive too. I mean, I don't know if that would, I have no idea, but we have to prioritize according to the budget numbers also. But thank everyone for your input and your willingness to speak. I think this is very, very important work, and it's worth the 3 or 4 meetings it's going to take. Do we have any public comments?
Not at this time, Mr. Klein.
Okay, sure.
There is one.
Okay, we'll take that one first, and we'll go back to our board members.
Good evening, Mercedes Jackson, East High Street, Pottstown, PA. I just wanted to say in regards to, reaching out to Black educators, maybe we can incentivize the students who already are in the ECE programs. And, just tell them if they come back, it gives them a reason to come back. Because one of my FAC parents met with a senior at Harcum who speaks highly of Mrs. Rhodes. And so I feel like that's half the battle right there. Getting them to come back, and it's people like that who plant that seed, who make them want to be a difference because they made a difference in their life. Because again, salary, yeah, the money, but when your heart is in it, like my dad says, when you work a job that you love to do, it's like never working a day in your life. So that was my thought on that. And then also, I know that a couple years ago, there was a scavenger hunt that the middle school did. And I think something like that should be done every year. Of course, switch up the questions, but it gets the people in the community, for the teachers and educators who work here, but don't reside here. And when the kids see you where they live and in their neighborhoods, it's going to make a big difference. Like Mr. Armato and Mrs. Armato, they are everywhere. Dr. D, he's new in our community. He is everywhere and with his family. So that makes a difference when you live here versus and you just come here and work here. Then they're going to respect you on a whole nother level because now you see where they lay their heads. It's a big difference than you just come in here barking orders. Then they're going to respect you because some people have a problem with authoritative figures, and then some people don't know how to speak to certain people. So it's not about what you say, it's how you say it. That's all I have to say tonight. Everybody have a blessed evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Jackson. Very, very good points.
What's ECE? She mentioned ECE.
Early childhood
Oh, okay.
education program.
Mrs. Rhodes is the one with the hat. She knits the hats every year, first grade.
No, that's Kathy's.
Oh,
That's-
oh.
Yeah.
Spelled a different way.
Naima is a graduate, a Black educator, and
Okay.
she's in Mrs. Ballard's CTE program, and we do heavily recruit from there for a bunch of positions, as many positions as we can get.
Mrs. Kancionik, then Mr. Armato.
I think it was, the one about I think it was number 15, but, my thought was, it was about rewarding teachers. I was thinking, could we do, you know how during, Black History Month, we do like, here's a Black person in ours, whatever. I think we should do that throughout the year, but with teachers, like meet Dr. Wangia. He went to school here, he likes fishing. And then somebody might be like, oh, Johnny, you like fishing, so does Dr. Wangia, you know? Then there's like a connection point there too. So I don't know if we could do something like that, like not every day, but every month highlight a new staff.
He's doing that already.
Yeah, but.
No,
no,
not
no,
like
but
that.
Other to your point, other districts do have programs like that, or, highlights like that. One not too far from here that does that on a pretty regular basis on their, media platforms.
Didn't you do, the one that just got his PhD
Mhm.
in high school? You did it like in September.
Dr. Harris? Yeah, so one,
No, I don't think, that's not who.
different one?
Yeah, but there are a number of students, that we try to, graduates, that we try to highlight if we can. If everything works out right, we get the information, because you have to start with the information.
But you're looking
I'm talking
specifically
about-
for the current staff.
Right,
members,
current,
like,
not like graduates that are
Yeah.
doing something special, that's good too. I
But
mean,
that,
yeah.
that's the point I was making, that other districts around us do something similar to that, on their media platforms of highlighting an employee, a teacher, and regardless of their color, they highlight
Right.
and tell their little story.
I want you to know that that is a great idea, one that has been talked about. One thing and we have done that in the past, especially, you guys know that I'm a big fan of Black History Month, and I use that as kind of a platform. I think it's a great idea. I will say that our employees get a vote. And more than one employee who has said, Stephen, I don't even agree with what you're doing. I don't want you to celebrate me because I'm Black. I want you to celebrate me because I've done X,
All
Y.
Black people.
Oh, no, I'm just telling you that not everybody wants to be put in the
Well, I
spotlight.
think doing
Yeah.
it during Black History Month is even more of a Black person. Right. If you're doing it in September, it doesn't feel as Black person-y.
A lot of times we'll do it for new teachers in
But it
September.
doesn't
but You're
have to
saying
be
do it
Black
for the
history.
staff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah.
You know, there's people with different cultures. This isn't even my committee. You guys got it. I'm sorry.
Mr. Armato.
Okay, so to Mrs. Jackson's point, to Ms. Spence's question, ECE, I can think of about a year ago, Mr. Rodriguez and I pretty heavily recruited, tried to recruit a Black graduate of ECE. And I would say we put a lot of time in trying to recruit him, and he took a job at a place that pays more money. At the end of the day, that's what it was.
We got turned down pretty flat. Hurt a little, but
Yeah.
he's a great kid. He might come back.
Well, one
I
of the
haven't given
things-
up on him. that's
One of
for
the
Mhm.
things that I tell all of the graduates as they're crossing the stage is to please come back. And
Mhm.
I let them know that we need them. That's not something that's a tagline, it's something that I actually say. And I communicate with some of them, even now. But we talked about this, I believe, several years ago. Mr. Hilton actually posed a homegrown idea that, we incentivize our students, because they're coming back home, and they may not come home to stay, for 5, 10 years, but they may come home and stay for 3 years, a 3 to 5 year. Because people just don't stay in any position super long, though we have some awesome staff who've stayed here and been with us for some time, and I'm grateful. And we definitely want that. We want them to come here and live and continue to thrive and to teach the students. So that was an idea we posed, I don't know, three boards ago, maybe, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a great idea to continue whatever we can with that program. It's however we can work it to incentivize, because even with the paraprofessionals, it was, even if we were able, I know Pennsylvania is the most stringent, I think, state, in my opinion. If you can work in Pennsylvania, you can work anywhere in the US as a teacher. But a lot of states don't require, you can almost do anything, but to that end is to say we can have our staff and our paraprofessionals moving into something and giving them a hand up, partnering them with a current certified staff member here in the district. All of those things that we continue forward, not that if it didn't work that we, or if it wasn't that good, that we don't try it again. That's my mindset, is that we don't, stay forward and stay the course. If it didn't work, it doesn't mean that we stop. It just means that we pivot and maybe look at it a different way. So, certainly our team has done a lot of work and do a lot of thinking outside of the box. So, we'll continue trying.
I think that also goes for not just hiring, but promoting and keeping it in-house and not always looking out to bring. Sometimes that's good, but sometimes, again, we need to give them incentives. It's discouraging to a staff member if they're passed over for someone else, then they want to go then they want to leave.
Right.
So, same thing.
Any other thoughts before we close? Mrs. Lawrence and members of the middle school, I apologize. I did a horrible job with time management once again.
I can't even get that stuff to happen. They just started playing. I'm like.
Our next meeting is gonna be February 1st, 2024.
Mr. Santiago, would you please?
Perfect.
We are.
All right.
Yeah, like,
No, I'm just waiting. You ready, Mr. Rockford?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. I guess we will call the curriculum committee to order. Now you can start your, you started already. 8 seconds down. Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Lawrence.
Oh, I guess I should ask for public comment first. Is there any public comment? I'm sorry.
Not at this time, Mrs. Lawrence.
Okay, thank you.
So we do have 2 sets of presentations tonight. This is now the time of the year where I think it is important to keep members of the committee well informed, make sure that you have current information. And so the goal is during this time of the year, we're gonna have a lot more informational items. And in springtime, that's typically when we start shifting towards decisions for the upcoming school year. So with that, we have 2 things on the agenda for tonight in terms of formal presentations. And then what's not on here is a third piece, which is a 4-minute video that is hot off the press from one of Anthony Santiago's latest productions. But we wanted to make sure we had people with us firsthand, front and center, to be able to talk about some of the things that are happening inside of their respective departments. So Ms. Ballard is going to be here from Career and Technical Education to provide us some highlights, and then to kick us off with an update with the Pottstown Middle School house model, which has been in place for about a year, and I'm going to call it like a year and a third at this point. So, and I asked them when they first got here, have you as a group had a chance to be in front of the board yet? And the answer is no. And that's how fast a year and a third can go by. So we figured at this point, year 2 would actually be the more interesting version, because you get into what does it look like with the model of moving with the students to a new grade level and actually the application of the house model philosophy. So we wanted to, so I think it's actually a very a perfect point. So with that, I'm gonna introduce our first speaker, Dr. O'Neill, 15.
evening, everybody, and thank you for having us here. We appreciate the time to just come and share what we're doing at the middle school and some of the things that we're doing. There's 5 of us, so we are a big team, and we have divided what we're going to share with you amongst the team. The house principal will talk in general about, the progress that the middle school has made, the progress that we have seen over the past year, and the third, which is how I would classify it as well, Mr. Oxenford, and then more specifically, what is going on in the specific houses. So Mr. Apple will talk about 5th grade, Mr. Davis 6th grade, Mr. Lawless will talk about 7th grade, and Mr. Duggan will talk about 8th grade specifically, but there'll be some general information there as well. We are aware that we are at the beginning stages of this, right? It takes a long time to shift culture. It takes a long time to shift the direction of a big building like the middle school. And, in any district, the middle school is one of the most volatile buildings. Just thinking about the emotional needs of our kids and the academic needs of our kids, and as well as what our teachers and staff need, it takes a lot to shift a building. So we've been in place for about a year. We are proud of some of the work that our teachers are doing, some of the work our staff is doing, our coaches are doing, and we want to share that with you. And we'll take questions at the very end. Mr.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ms. Tupper, Jessie Tupper, and I'm 5th grade house principal currently. As a house principal and a counselor within the house model, we are assigned to a specific grade level that we follow throughout a student's time in the middle school. I had the pleasure last year of starting with 8th grade with the students that are currently 9th graders. In preparation from the loop down to 5th grade this year, myself and grade level counselor visited each elementary school in the spring of last year to kind of talk about all the things that are important about the middle school and to make sure that they had someone that they recognize when they walk through our doors this fall. In the summer, before the first day of school, we held a 5th grade orientation, a parent meeting, and a meet the teacher night. The 5th grade orientation was hosted by the web team, which consists of coordinators who are all significant adults within the 5th grade team, as well as 8th grade web leaders who actually trained to support that event. Web leaders ran activities so students could get to know their classmates, they could get to see their classrooms, get to know their area that they would be in the school, and even led building tours with themselves and their families during the Meet the Teacher Night. WEB, which stands for Where Everyone Belongs, is a year-long transitional program where 8th graders visit, support, and teach lessons to 5th graders every day 6 of the 6-day cycle. So they're getting repeated and consistent connections with that older student. This provides 5th graders with that additional support in their transition to middle school by providing that older student helps them manage, prepare, and adjust to their middle school experience. And it also allows them to have someone that has experienced some of the similar things that they're going to go through, give them that advice. As 5th graders, they will have the opportunity to become web leaders themselves when they become 8th graders to support the transition of the incoming class. One of the most important things of looping in is relationships, relationship building. Myself and our counselor will be with the class of 2031 for the next 4 years. They will know me well, they will know our counselor well, their families will know us well. We will get, this is similar to the elementary experience. They're used to one principal, they're used to one counselor. We get to do that as well for our classes coming in. We will get to know our students and their families over the next several years within each of the houses. And as our houses reach 8th grade and loop down to 5th, we have the unique opportunity to see where we are, see where we want to be in the next 4 years and be able to make that happen so that we know what our house of students want to achieve by the end of those 4 years. House principals are able to supervise the cafeteria as well as morning arrival and dismissal. And for staff, students, and parents, the house principal is the direct point of contact for both academic and behavioral progress. The house model allows for house principals to get to know students on a personal level to ensure their academic pathway is conducive to their success as we continue to prepare each student by name for success at every level. And with that goal in mind, we have implemented some changes that I will get let Miss Danielle Davis tell you all about.
Hello, I'm Danielle Davis. I am the sixth grade house principal. I have the unique experience of being here pre-house model and post-house model. And I will tell you, there's two reasons that I chose Pottstown. I had two job offers when I got a job offer for Pottstown in another district. And there were two reasons that I chose Pottstown. One was the mission statement, each student by name. Like that by name part is huge for me. And when I first started working here and it was just Mr. Ishler and I in the middle school, it wasn't by name. It was by most biggest behavior issue that needed to be put out at that time. I'm just being honest. And now that we have our house model, we can very much say each student by name. We have implemented what's called PLCs, professional learning communities, where core teachers, house principals and our coaches have 50 minutes every day, but we meet 50 minutes twice a week to discuss each student by name academically. So when it was just Mr. Ishler and I, it was, I don't know, Phoebe is struggling in math. She got below basic in math. She should probably do better in math. And that was really it. We said she needs help in math and that's all we could say. But now we can sit in these meetings and say, she is struggling with dividing fractions, but she is doing great with geometry. So when we teach geometry, we need to push her farther. She needs to be in this group where she's doing more. And when we're dividing fractions, come here, don't work with me. I'll help you out. We're gonna go through this. But I mean, that's one of my biggest things right now is the by name part of it. And we did this by changing some related arts. Nobody lost any related arts. We actually added more. 7th and 8th have the same related arts as before the house model. And now 5th grade has, 5th and 6th grade now all have music once a week, SEL lessons once a week, which we could put in with the suicide prevention and other things that we talked about, culturally relevant. And then computer science once a week. So this is more just making them more well-rounded people. Second reason I chose Pottstown, maybe this was the first one, is North Bay. I mean, I've made that so abundantly clear. I asked in my interview in Stephen's office, they said, do you have any questions for us? And I said, yes, when can I go to North Bay? And Brian Hostetler said I couldn't, and I was gone. So guess who's going to North Bay this year? I can't wait. And I think the relationship building, now when we go in May, I will have known these kids for 2 years. I mean, I have a 6th grader of my own, and the thought of going with Pottstown 6th graders to North Bay is awesome. The thought of sending my baby away for a week is terrifying. So hopefully these relationships that I've built with the kids and the parents, they can trust me. And yeah, he's coming. Oh, him and I have already talked about it. The relationship that I've built with these students, that the counselors have built with these students, will help us out in North Bay. We got camp songs, we got all the things we're gonna do. It's gonna be great. So we're excited about that. The last thing that has really helped with the house model is time. That we have more time to do more than just put out those behavior fires. And one thing that we are focusing on this year is parent engagement. We have already this year done our back to school nights. We've done pumpkin painting. We've done cocoa and copes during conferences. Some plans after the break, a pasta night, just pasta dinner where come in, have some dinner with your family. We're doing a book bingo, which I'm very excited for. We are planning some sweetheart dances per grade level, probably 5th and 6th at one point, 7th and 8th at another point. And also I'm very excited for March-ish. We are going to do Are You Smarter Than Your Student? Kind of like Are You Smarter Than a 5th grader, but parents can come in. We'll do some PSSA review.
Wow.
So parents can come in, we'll do some PSSA review, and it's gonna be kids versus parents, and we're gonna see if our parents can do 8th grade math. Right?
We're not doing that.
I'm not doing that. So having parents come in, to interact with us, but also to interact with their middle schooler, because I don't know if you guys know this, middle schoolers know everything already. And their parents are not cool, and they try and do everything to get away from the adults, and they want to just hang out with themselves. So if we can bring them into our building and do fun things with parents and students together, that's just a way to build, again, more relationships, which was the goal of the house model, I think. I'm gonna pass it on to Mr. Lawless, who is going to talk to you about some academic stuff and some behavior stuff.
Thank you, Ms. Davis, and good evening, everybody. So I'm gonna be talking about a couple things today. So my big thing is gonna be academics. With the house model, as we've talked about before, we know all of our kids. It starts with where they're at in ELA and math, where we can push them, where we can hold them back to offer them extra help. It's a really great opportunity for us to prove our district mission correct of every kid by name for success at every level. To do that, we've implemented 2 new research-based programs this year, Edmentum, ExactPath, and Lincoln. What those 2 programs do is it allows our kids to take diagnostic tests. It shows us where our kids are really striving and where our kids are really struggling. And what we can do with that information that now we have much more time to do as houses is target each kid and give them the attention that they not only need, but deserve. So during our PLCs, our teachers come in with our coaches, we look at the data, we look at where each person or each kid is really going to need to go. And our coaches and our teachers do a great job of planning new academic strategies and work in small groups to really push our kids to the next level. These programs give more data than we can honestly use, but the more data, the better. And honestly, our teachers are doing a great job of immersing themselves in that data. So a big shout out to them. But as house principals, we're looking at the data, we're diving in with them, we're giving our insight to kids. It's a really great thing that we're doing that I'm excited to have going forward. So the next thing I want to talk about is behavior. Discipline data over the last 3 years, starting with the year before the house model happened, we are seeing a steady decline in behavior referrals, major incidents, and most importantly, we're seeing a big drop in fights. So we had roughly 80 fights the year before the house model was implemented. Last year, we dropped that down to 60. This year so far, we're only at 12. So we're seeing a very big decrease in those negative behaviors because we are honestly in as many places as we can be. We're in the hallways, we're in the cafeterias, we're monitoring as much as we can. And I think that presence alone is where the kids are seeing not only we shouldn't do this, but we have a person that we're trying to show that we can be mature and not make these mistakes. Our counselors are also with the kids, and that's another person that we can have to promote the SEL lessons that we're seeing, talk to kids when mistakes are being made before they turn into escalated behaviors. And we're seeing the behavior data really go in our favor and really show that we're making an impact with our students. The last thing I want to talk about, and this is a big one, is the field trips that each of our grade levels take. 5th grade and 6th grade and 7th grade all get a North Bay experience. The big one is 6th grade. I went on that trip last year. The only thing I wish is I knew my kids a little bit better. It was my first year, so going down there after knowing them for 6 weeks in another state for 5 days, it was interesting. But I can tell you just on those 5 days, I learned more about my kids that I've been able to use for the past year and 3 months. But all 3 of those grades get their own North Bay experience. North Bay comes out. 5th grade goes to the Crow's Nest Preserve to prepare them for North Bay. So we have 3 grade levels right there that are getting a North Bay experience. The 8th grade is planning some fantastic trips this year. Spirit of Philadelphia, Dorney Park. You're going to Valley Forge.
Yes,
And you're going on one more.
Valley Forge is 2 trips, 2.
And you're going on one more that is slipping my mind right now. But I won't put you on the spot, that's my thing. Seventh grade is gonna go to the Reading Royals, and we're actually trying to plan one to go to the Dutch Apple Theater that is in the preliminary stages. I'm hoping we can get it to work, but for right now, it at least gives us time to talk about these in our house meetings that we have bi-weekly. So with this house model, we're seeing, in my opinion, a lot of great things, not just for the students who are the most important pieces of this big machine that we have. The teachers have the support, we have the support of each other, and I think that is a very important thing of driving us forward. And I think the work that we've done and the work that we're doing is really going to allow us to hit a lot more students and hopefully get them to the places that they want to go, and maybe back into our school district when they graduate in 12th grade. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Dargan, who will take us home on the house principal front.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mr. Dargan. I am the 8th grade house principal. You had the pleasure of hearing from my colleagues, and what should resonate with you is one of the main focuses of the house model, and that is the opportunity to be intentional about building positive relationships with our students and our staff. That is what I look at as one of the main focuses of this process. What Mr. Lawless, what my other colleagues have mentioned, there are some of these things that go along with that to help with the intentionality. It's always a focus of building the relationships and improving our student learning and the environment. So just to get a piggyback, and we can provide a little more detail with one of the main components is our PLCs. Our PLCs, that is stands for our professional learning community. This is what our teachers interact with to collaborate collectively and provide instruction to our students. This is what we provided more time for planning within the building, and this is what they have been asking for. And this collaboration is going to lead, you're going to see the result of this in our student learning. So that is what our PLC is this year, and we're looking to continue to implement that into the future. So that was one of the new things that's new for this year. One of the big things, some of you have heard me say this, is that we are establishing a wonderful, robust PBIS, not a program, or a PBIS framework. So our PBIS framework at the Pottstown Middle School started last year. This year, let me just go back to last year. Started last year. Last year, we came in as a team. We established our PBIS teacher team, and together we looked at establishing a school mantra. We worked together establishing our school mantra, which is our hero mantra. Our hero mantra outlines behavioral expectations for our students. PBIS stands for positive behavior interventions and supports. It is a proactive approach to establishing behavioral support needed for all students in a school and achieve social, emotional, and academic success. So what does that mean? What does it really look like? It looks like our teachers collaboratively reinforcing and implementing a positive environment for our students. The PBIS team is pretty much the culture team of the building. We are looking to improve the culture and the opportunities for our students and making our building a more positive environment to increase student learning. So that is what our PBIS team is doing. This year, we took a group of teachers out to our Hershey conference. Thank you for the board members that allowed us to do that so that they can get more insight into what PBIS looks like in a school, in the middle school setting. Our MTSS team went out there as well to get some information, and they brought that new learning back to the building, and they're implementing some of the practices that they're learning. This year, we are underway with establishing our student team, which is a great opportunity to now have students as part of that PBIS team so that they can share their voice regarding some of the things that they would like to see take place within our building. So these are just some of the things that we're doing with our PBIS framework. So just stay tuned, because one of the things that you're going to see pretty soon is now we're going to start to tie it into the community. with a community letter that will be coming out within the next few days that will showcase everything that our middle school is doing in relation to building a positive culture and asking parents for their support and involvement in our process. My experience with the house model, you can hear it, but for the most part, I work collectively with my colleagues. And it really does provide me the opportunity to be more intentional and focus on student learning by supporting the teachers. You've heard them mention a lot of different things, and all I can do is say that that is shared amongst all of us. We meet every day to discuss progresses moving forward and what we need to do to continue to improve the learning outcomes for our students. That is it. Thank you. So you've had a lot from the team, and what I would like to say to the board is thank you. Thank you for allowing us to assemble a team of educators who are really, really passionate about what they do. We have had experiences where 2 of us are out or 3 of us are out on the same day, and it feels like a completely different building. You're running nonstop all day. I know they're not here anymore, but the people who went before us, I'm telling you, they did a tremendous job. That building is next to impossible without a team like this. Having this team allows us to deal with issues as they crop up, but also allows us to do some forward thinking and plan for future. And it just happens that, you know, Mr. Rodriguez is a genius here who hired a social studies, an English, a math, special education, and a science person to run the middle school.
That was
Right,
it.
so he's a genius. But I also want to give just a big thank you to our teachers, our counselors, and the staff that really works in that middle school, because it takes a tremendous effort to change a direction in which you're going and have probably been going for years and try and go a different way. It takes a lot of effort to think, okay, maybe this thing that I've been doing for the last 10 years, I could do it a little better and look in a different direction. And they're doing that hard work. They're doing that hard work, and together with them doing that hard work, our students are doing that hard work. Right, students will talk about our hero mantra, and that's, you're not being a hero right now. Right, those are the kind of conversations that we want to hear as we walk through the hallways. Having said that, please let me be clear. We are very, very far from the finished article. We are far from the finished article. We are still running a middle school, and we still have some issues that we need to deal with. We still have some behavioral issues that we need to deal with. Mr. Lawless talked about the number of fights this year. For me, 1 fight is 1 fight too many within the building. We are far from the finished article, and we are working to get to that ideal. It will take us time. It will take us time to get to the ideal, but we are working in that effort. So thank you very much for your time. As a team, we're excited to see what comes next. And again, thank you for your support.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate, all that you guys do. I think I do, just a couple comments. I don't really have any questions. First of all, I do think the house model is a good idea. I think that's what we've been trying to push all along, that it's the relationships, and that's the key to all the problems that are out there. And those of you who know, since I've been on the board, I've been harping on this middle school, and I still think the 2 biggest problems are still there. So I'm really glad that I heard them say at the end that they are. And to me, the 2 biggest issues, and some of it's hard, I have a hard time talking around it, because some of it's stuff I'm not sure can be said it kind of borders in personnel, and then it borders into special ed, but I do think that we still have behavioral issues that are just not being addressed, and it isn't making it conducive for some of the other kids. I still hear from the kids, sometimes they don't feel safe, they don't feel they're distracted because there's this person, and I don't know what the answer to that is, but I'm glad that we are at least admitting that that's a problem. And the second thing is sort of what we were just talking about, is our losing teachers. And I still hear this from, I know a lot of teachers out there, and I still hear, we don't feel this, and we don't feel this, and wanting to leave, and maybe it's not, I don't know, I don't have numbers, and I'm not a data person, because I think there's more to a story than the data, but, I just know personally, I've had to talk down people who want to leave, and I just don't, that really bothers me, because they're good teachers. And when they want to leave because they feel things are out of control or this, it's upsetting to me. So I'm glad that, I think we are making progress, and I know it's gonna take a long time. But I just think we need to recognize those problems and not say they're not there, because they are. But I think the house model is the key to getting those relationships and having that team thing. So I appreciate that. I think that that's a good thing.
I have a couple comments, actually. I'm thrilled, I was thrilled when Mr. Rodriguez proposed the house model, and I'm certainly proud tonight of what you've been able to do with it. So thank you for that. Change, you said it's tough. I'm a retired principal. I always told my staff, change is a 6-letter word that makes it 50% worse than 4-letter words. So, and teachers pretty much follow that. I mean, they kind of live that. Also thrilled on a personal note that you're doing PLCs. I totally believed in them. I ran them in my buildings. Dr. Wangia, if you want any tips that I did, I'm glad to give them to you. The thing is, you have to be creative. I had to do it with no additional staff and no additional budget. And I think 2 things that I don't know if you're doing or not, but were very valuable in my buildings were giving teacher collab time by subject. Sometimes that's hard to find. And I was at a high school level, we could schedule common preps. It's maybe Mr. Rodriguez would let you do that during building in service days. I don't know, but very, very valuable. And also incentivize the students, somehow come up with special privileges. We had study halls in the high school. Kids with certain GPA got to go to the cafeteria actually, and they could use the vending machines and hang out there. It cut down on supervision because they wanted that, and you had free teachers up to do other things. So be creative with your thinking.
Thank you.
I will go next. Thank you very much for wading through with us on our agenda tonight. Your time with your families is important, and you're here listening to what we went through first before we could ever get a chance to listen to you. So thank you very much. First, I would like to say thank you to Mr. Rodriguez. He and I have had this conversation. One of the things when I came on the board was the middle school is huge, and bullying was big, and uniform policy was next, right? So those were the things that I came on with. And I proposed the house model, not to the level and degree that Mr. Rodriguez took it to. And the reason I proposed the house model is because I was studying and looking at the other environments and what was occurring with the 6th through 8th. And then we were adding a 5. And as we know, physiologically and biologically, fifth graders should not be with 8th graders. We know that. It's more than just age, right? It's mental. And there's so many other factors that go along. It's just what it is. And we are where we are. Our district moved to what was best for us. And so, and I tell Mr. Rodriguez, I did not see what he saw, but I knew that we needed to treat our 5th graders and our 6th graders as though they were what they were, which is younger children and younger mentally and emotionally. And so when you move those age groups together, we know there's a ball of dynamics that could far exceed what we intended, right? So I'm grateful that things are moving along, and he was able to even take this even further to where we had no idea it could go. We just didn't have at that time the funding. And I don't think that our leadership had the sight, to be quite honest, right? And so that's cyclical, that it's not just board, it's also executive leader from top down. And that's no dark mark for the former super or any former boards. everyone has to look at what's directly in front of them at the time, and they have to mitigate, right, and prioritize. And if something doesn't seem that it's there, site worthy, right, then we can't proceed down that path. So I'm grateful that he was able to line it out properly. Second thing I'm happy about hearing is the newsletter, going out to the parents. That's big. That's something I proposed a few, no, maybe 5 years ago. I don't know. 6, I don't know. Anyway, a lot of people just aren't tuned into virtual and web, and they want to know what's going on. They may not even have children in the district. They may not have children at all, but they want to be included, and they might want to come in and dedicate some of their time, and you be able to utilize them in whatever way that you possibly could. But just getting that direct engagement with the community, that's big. It's more than just some words on a paper. And the receivers know that. They feel that you actually value them as community members. So that tie-in, I'm really appreciative. And then I'd like to hear more about the culture for our staff, because I don't want them to get burnt out. That building, as you've mentioned, is massive in of course quantity, but massive in personality and behavior. And they came through a period when the pandemic, certainly whatever was already there at the height was exacerbated, right, by that pandemic. So that being said, the staff needs to have something that keeps them going, because they went through that period as well. You went through that period as well, trying to keep yourself whole mentally, physically, your own families. So I'd like to see some piece that kind of ties the staff and their culture and what they have as supports and positives, and I want them to know they're heard. That's important. And support. And of course, the behavior, I'm glad to see 80-60-12. That's amazing. I don't have anyone that like sticks out in your brain, but even one is too many, but that's not indicative of our population. That's indicative of populations all across states. You hear these issues that have surmounted, that leaders are coming together and trying to figure out what the best way to handle it is, and how to not only control it and contain it, but to prevent it. So I'd like to hear that preventative piece and how that's working. And it's great to see that 80-60-12 happen. Fights they hit you right in the heart. I don't care if your kids are grown or if you don't have any, it's hard to see. It's hard to listen to. And I'm choked up every single time I see one of these. And it doesn't have to be in our own district. Because you see the combativeness, and you know it's coming from someplace, and you can't, right? So I am so thankful that you're there and you're taking on the challenge, and that you take it as seriously as you do, that you have a team well put together by Mr. Rodriguez to kind of just tap away at it, bit by bit. If you can get some chunks, hey, go for the chunk. But the bit by bit that you're making, one down is great. So I appreciate you very much for what you're looking at and what you're doing.
I'm sorry, did you have something? I don't want to make sure we don't run out of time.
No, I was gonna say, and on that note, most of these folks are in the office at between 7 and 7:15, so I'm gonna tell you, you don't have a choice. Get out of here. Go to your families. Thank you very much. Well done.
Yeah,
See
thank
you.
you so
See you.
much. Thank you.
You serious?
Yeah, that's okay. I wrote notes, but it's fine.
I feel bad because she's waiting for her presentation too, so I just. You have a quick, swing by?
Nope, it's fine.
Once she's setting up, you can talk.
No, it's fine.
I want to stay.
Man,
Get around this way. Right, yeah, right there, the new place right there.
Watch it there.
James, you got something on the backside of that. Yep.
Have a good night, everyone.
You too,
Thank
guys.
you.
So now we're gonna introduce, I think you know her already, but Ms. Ballard's gonna be out, and believe it or not, when we look back on the rotation, I don't think CTE was in the original rotation of committee presentations for this committee, so we had added it, and rightfully so, because I think even myself, every time I sit down and spend time with Ms. Ballard, I learn a lot more about the program, and she's obviously gonna get into it, but it's incredible to learn what we have in place and how successful it's been and where it's going. So that turn it over to Ms. Ballard.
Thank you, everyone, and I know it's been a really long night, so I'm gonna move as quickly as possible here. So a little bit about CTE. I don't know that you've ever seen task lists that our students use, so I printed them just in case you wanted to take a look at them. But the way CTE works is we work off of task lists that are programs of study that are actually created by the state, by actually teachers and people in the field. There's one there for each program if you want to just kind of see what they look like. And in CTE, we focus on completers and we focus on concentrators. So those are two terms that we use a lot in career and tech ed and are very important to us. So in our PIM system, the Pennsylvania Information Management System, they focus on completers. And a completer is a student who completes that task list that you see and takes their NOPTI exam and graduates from high school. That's what we want for our kids. Those three things, they become a completer and they count for us as a completer of a current tech program. A concentrator is used in the Perkins system, which is grant funding that we use to buy a lot of equipment. And what they're looking for in a concentrator is a student that has been through 2 courses of career and technical education. So 2 courses means one course is 240 hours. So they would be basically 2 years in a full years in a program would get them 240 hours. Most of these task lists, even though we have 3-year programs in a lot of career tech centers and high schools have 3-year programs, these programs of study are actually written to be completed in 2 years because the hope is that by your senior year, you're out in the community. You're working, you're doing an internship, you're taking college courses, whatever the case may be. But that's why they have written them to be hopefully completed in 2 years. So that just gives you a little bit of a start to what our goals are. I believe that a picture is worth 1,000 words, so I have a lot of pictures and I'm hoping that you'll be able to see them popping up here. So these are just some pictures of students in the program, and I thought I would scroll through them while I'm giving you some more information. So our CT enrollment remains strong. In 2021-22 school year, we graduated 37 CTE seniors. In the 22-23 school year, we graduated 45 seniors. And this year, we will graduate 52. So the numbers are going up. And we'll talk a little bit about the recruiting that has been happening in order to keep raising those numbers of completers. We currently have about 385 students taking part in CTE courses. They are not all concentrators. Some of them are our level 1 students, and we hope that they will continue on for level 2. And some of our programs, automotive, culinary, construction, there are quite a few that actually have more students applying than we have room for at this point, because there's a waiting list for students to get into some of these programs. So what you're seeing me flip through here are just some pictures of students in action in a normal day, working in their classes, in the lab area of their classes. They do also have a theory period every day where they learn the theory of what they're about to do, and then they go into the lab and practice it. The next part I want to talk about is how CTE adds value to the district and the community. And this is you'll see what I'll scroll through here, some pictures of students out in the community. And this was a field trip to a local business. We were at Be Resilient, and these are our marketing and entrepreneurship students who were all learning about an internship that was about to take place there. And we actually have 2 students there now. We had 2 students there last year as well. So the thing about CTE programs is that we allow students to apply their academic learning to real world problems. So they're learning math, science, and language and art in context that helps them better understand what they're learning in those academic classes. So we are constantly in touch with local businesses to be sure we're teaching students the skills that they need to enter the workforce. We're listening to what those local businesses tell us they're looking for, so that we know that our students will be ready to be hired when they graduate. We stay in touch with post-secondary institutions. The pictures you're seeing now are some of the local businesses that have donated money to us to buy equipment. Our post-secondary institutions come in and speak with students on a regular basis as guest speakers, as well as our local business owners. We also, in CTE, teachers are required to have an occupational advisory committee. And that is a committee made up of local employers that are related to the field that you're teaching. So if you're an automotive teacher, you have a group of auto mechanics that will come in and meet with you twice a year. Here you see us in the cafeteria. We typically have a dinner, and then they go back into the classroom. This is the automotive classroom, where they have a meeting and they look at our curriculum, they look at our equipment, they look at the lab space, they look at safety, and they give us feedback and tell us, you know, well, you're teaching this, but that has changed. Because once you become a teacher, you're not in the field working as much anymore. So you kind of lose touch with what's the most current pieces of equipment that they're using. So we rely on occupational advisory committee members to come in and help us with that and tell us, you know, we're not really using this anymore. You should be teaching this now. And they sort of guide our curriculum. Our students also are serving in the community. This is a van full of culinary arts kids about to head out. Here they are serving a dinner that they made from food that they got from the food bank. So that was quite a task for them. They got a whole mishmash of food from the food bank and then from the Pottstown religious clusters, which we've been working with. And they had to make it into something that they then served at the Salvation Army. And so I ran down there and took some pictures of them. And as I was leaving, I was walking through the parking lot and I heard one of the gentlemen who had just taken a bunch of food out with him, and they give them to-go containers, talking to someone else in the parking lot. And I get a little clip when I talk about it. And he said, those kids made that food for us. Can you believe that? They took the time out of their school day and they cooked that food and they came and they served it to us. And I thought, wow, that was awesome. So he was so impressed with them, as I always am. These are some of our early childhood education students at the trunk or treat. So they're in the community. This is a field day. They helped with all of our elementary school field day celebrations this year, which was really a nice opportunity for them to mentor some of those younger kids and help out the teachers there. This is a picture of our Jumpstart. This is another thing that we try to do for our students is just not only just to send them off with knowledge, but to send them off with the tools that they need to be successful. It's very expensive to be an auto mechanic because you're expected to have your own tools. And, you know, our kids can't afford that. So we through Student Enterprise, the garage is open and people bring their car in for repair. And some of that money is used to pay for the parts. And then some of that money is used to start this Jumpstart program. And the students who you see behind there in their cap and gowns, and they were all recipients of the Jumpstart program. And the tools that you see in front of each of those students is what they left with. So it's thousands of dollars worth of tools that they now don't have to buy, and they're able to go into the field. Again, we're teaching students things that they can use in the real world. These are engineering students who had to make solar hot water heaters. And so I went out in the courtyard one day and it was unbelievable how hot they could get this water to be using just the sun. And don't ask me how they did it, because they explained it to me, but I didn't really understand it, but they made it happen. This is a field trip to the Giant Corporation. Our marketing students went there and learned all about what it's like. That first of all, they loved sitting at these big long tables. They thought that was pretty cool, but they learned a lot about, you know, what it was like to work at a large corporation like Giant, and what the marketing looks like at such a large corporation. And then students also get industry certifications, and I thought this was kind of cute. The work-based learning coordinator went in to check on a student that's working at Mr. Sticky's, and they had his ServSafe certification in their office. So I thought that was kind of cute. You know, he's proud. And so our students do get certifications in the program that will earn them more money when they get out into the field, and employers are especially happy about that, because they don't have to pay for them to get those certifications, because we did it. So some highlights on the horizon. Some of our goals this year is we're really trying to grow our CTSOs. CTSOs are part of a current technical education program. It's current technical student organizations is what that stands for. And they are not extracurricular, but co-curricular. So if students in these programs are, the DECA students, for instance, are learning about marketing, and you see them all holding their trophies. They competed in marketing events. It's not, you know, everything that they compete in has to do with what they're learning in the classroom. So it's a great way for them to gain leadership skills and, you know, really show off a little bit of what they know, but then also to meet other students from all over Pennsylvania who have the same dream as them to work in the field of marketing.
And the senior class president is in there as well.
And then there's these are some more DECA. There's HOSA, that's the Health Occupation Students of America, and Skills USA is something that we are really trying to grow this year. DECA is our marketing and entrepreneurship students and some of our business students. HOSA is Health Occupation Students of America. So you have to be in the health program to be a member of HOSA. Skills USA is one of those that anybody can join. So it's important to have this, because I feel like some of the kids feel left out because they can't be part of DECA, they can't be part of HOSA. What can I be a part of? You could be part of Skills USA. So this year, thanks to Mr. Rodriguez, I did a last minute, oh God, we got to get these kids to this leadership conference.
I remember the call.
And it was last minute, and I called the director of Skills USA, and I actually sent her an email, and I said, you know, I really want our kids to have this opportunity. Please, I know that we are up against the deadline, but please, can we? And she was great. She called me at 8 o'clock on a Friday night. I didn't hear back from her. I thought, oh, there's no way we're going to be able to go to this. We missed the deadline. She called me 8 o'clock on Friday night and said, yeah, bring your kids. So we went to Gettysburg. It's the first time some of these girls had stayed overnight in a hotel. They learned a lot. If you ask any of them what to do with your napkin when you're sitting at dinner and you leave the table, but you're coming back, they will know that you put your napkin on your chair. They had no idea that that was the answer, but they learned. So they did etiquette classes. They learned parliamentary procedures. They went through, there was probably 20 workshops. We were busy from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10:30 at night. I was exhausted. I kept saying, okay, we're going to bed now. But they were really good workshops, and they learned a lot. So they are now, and they got their pins. These are their leadership pins that they were able to get. The other thing that we're working on is getting more students out on co-op and in internships. These are some students who are out, we're out working at R&M Equipment Company. We have a lot of our early childhood, well, all of our early childhood education seniors are out in on internships in our own district, in our elementary schools. We're also working with the middle school to get some of the students into the middle school because some of them want to maybe not be elementary school teachers, so they want to see what it's like to be in the middle school. So the middle school has been fabulous with working with us on getting students out with them. There's another student out to work. And then the last thing is that I wanted to talk about our recruiting. I've been working really hard at building a bridge between the high school and the middle school because and even into the elementary school, because you can't start in ninth grade. It's a career pathway and it needs to start in pre-K. It needs to start early because we need to keep visiting, reaching back, right? And pulling them forward. And so this is the middle school, this year's middle school CTE fair, which was a great success. The middle school students were fabulous. It was better than last year. Last year we had them all come into the gym at the same time, and it was a little chaotic, and the high school students were like, this is a lot of people. And so I had to kind of talk them off the ledge a little bit. This year, we held it in the auditorium, and we brought the middle school students in one classroom at a time. So it was a lot more manageable, and the high school students were a little less stressed about it. You see, they brought mannequins, and they were teaching students how to give CPR. So it was a lot of hands-on stuff. We took a lot with us so that students weren't just walking around looking, but they were getting their hands on things that they would use in a CTE program. I gave them all a bookmark, and it had the names of all the programs on it. And then their job was to walk through and then circle the ones that they liked the best so that they would remember. And then just 2 weeks ago, they came into, those same eighth graders came into the high school, and they were allowed to go visit those programs to now see what did the lab look like. And they were so cute. They walked into cosmetology and said, there's actually a salon in here. You know, they were just expecting it to be a classroom. They didn't realize that there's a garage where in auto. And so it was really cute. They enjoyed it. These are all the student ambassadors that went to the middle school. And then here's the eighth graders touring. And they were just amazed that we had all these saws and things like that. And then this was elementary day. We brought some fourth graders to the school, and they rotated through some programs. They were grouped and sent to a program. And in the CTE program, there was a make and take project that they were worked with. They were paired up with a high school student, and they made something that they then were able to take home. So here they are making birdhouses and carpentry. And this is on the left is culinary. They iced cookies. And on the right is cosmetology. And they were learning about how to mix color like you would when you mix color to put on your hair, only they were mixing it in icing and then icing a cupcake with it. They made model cars and automotive, and then everybody had something that they got to take away. In entrepreneurship, they made t-shirts. The healthcare students got a stethoscope and everything you see them wearing. So everybody walked away with something. This is our early childhood education students. They got a book, and they made one of those things with glitter and you know that you can turn when you're feeling nervous. And then there's the whole group of them. So it was a really good day. It was Rupert who came, and they had a fantastic time, and we're hoping to do that with the rest of the elementary schools as well. We're also working on a coloring book to try to entice the elementary students to start thinking about careers. So there'll be a page for each of the CTE programs in there, so that, and we're gonna make them animals instead of people. So it's a little bit more kid friendly. So there'll be, you know, a hippo working on a car or something like that. And then I've been doing a lot of work with Gear Up, and we are currently planning a parent event for this year as well. And I think I made it in 10 minutes. Did I go up 10 minutes? So I invite you all to tour anytime. I would love to take you through the programs. The teachers are amazing, and I am blessed. I can't imagine it being any better. They do a great job with the students, and everybody's really student-centered, and I love that about this place. So if I can answer any questions for you, I would be happy to.
No, that was excellent. Thank you. What did they do? I mean, this is gonna be, you don't have time to answer this, but what did they do during COVID? When, with all the labs and all the, how did they?
It's so
do
hard
that?
to keep CTE.
Well, that's,
virtual.
I mean, I'm thinking cosmetology. How do you do that?
Yeah.
I guess you can't really answer that in a few minutes, but
Yeah,
I just.
it's crazy. You get very creative.
Yeah, I bet. That's
Absolutely.
Ms. Ballard shared with me when we were, going through the run through for this, she said, she said it here, but I hope everyone hears it. There are multiple programs where they have literally just as many people turned away as what they can accept. Like there are long waiting lists. She said how she gets phone calls from parents, like pleading to try to find space. And she also talked about how like the behavior of the students in the program it's like top notch. Like it is, they hold themselves to a higher standard to be able to continue in the program. And to have an in-house model.
Yeah. So they're capped, so there's no way we can add extra.
It's so hard because of the space,
Yeah.
and it's a safety factor is what it is. Like in automotive, there's only so many bays that kids can work in, and when you get too many students under a car that's up on a lift, then it becomes unsafe.
So how do you select which students?
So the students apply. First of all, they fill out an application, and then the teacher will have had them for level 1. So they know the student.
So there's not a limit on level 1?
No.
Okay.
There's no limit on level 1. We can take as many level 1s in as we want, and there's not an issue because they're not going that deep into the curriculum. So, construction, a level 1 student isn't out in the lab using a saw by himself, something that could cut an arm off. So level 1 is pretty much wide open. When they complete level 1, then they fill out an application if they want to stay in the program. And some students take more than one level 1 program because they're not really sure. It's kind of an exploratory time for them. And then when they decide, okay, I really think that, auto is what I want, they will fill out an application, but on that application, it asks them for a first choice and a second choice. And then we ask them if we can't get them into first or second, we'll go back to them and say, do you have a third choice? Or, here's what we have open. Is this something you'd be interested in? But there's a lot of factors that go into who gets in. How safe are they in the program? Is it somebody that's, some students really, the maturity level is big because you don't want somebody horse playing over here while somebody over here is using a saw and they could run into them.
But then they have the healthcare people who take care of it.
Oh my gosh. See how it goes. Automotive, construction, healthcare. That was a good design right there, just in case.
Board members should know that if, one of the questions that I've asked in the past, and every year I ask it, I get the same response. Our level of special education students in our CTE program is very high. 40 to 50% is very normal, and they do very well there.
Yeah. And I think because they're up and moving, and a lot of kids don't do well in their math class or their English class because they have to sit for a long period of time and they're just not built to do that. But the fact that you can, sit for maybe a 20-minute lesson and now let's go out in the lab and apply what you just learned, and they're up and moving around and they're working as a team and they're solving problems, it just naturally is good for them. And they do well.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Lawrence, we do have a 4-minute video, but we can always watch that in February.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. We want to prove it.
I'm okay with it.
It's 9:10 and we
We're
try
over,
very
I
hard
think.
I mean, I think we probably
have
have
to
the
be.
time, but it's up to committee members, but it's a 4-minute video and you might enjoy it if you're a fresher.
What do
Let's
you
see.
guys, I mean, how much we have, was that,
Saying no.
what's that, Steve?
I said I went overtime. I'm not saying no.
Oh, yeah. You always take. So, it's up to, yeah, it's up to you. I don't
I'd
care.
say if it's 4 minutes, I think we're good to go. Mr. Santiago was working pretty hard
Oh, he'll
to
cry
make
if
sure
you
that,
don't let
no,
it-
he's a sport, but he,
Right, that's
had it,
fine.
he wanted to make sure it was available for tonight. And I
Okay.
think, hopefully tonight, heading into the new year, this was a really good chance to showcase some of the things that are really the highlights that I think if we have board members walking around knowing about the intricacies of some of those programs and the talking points of what's so great about the program. Fun fact, my dad is actually a graduate of the high school carpentry program, and his entire career was a union carpenter. So, yeah.
Great.
Okay, so Mr. Santiago, roll video. Please. Oh, you are kidding me.
Well, that made the decision easier.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Try one more time.
Every time.
I'm telling you, we test this. I'm telling you.
Cause I thought I saw Mr. Freeze on there.
Poor Mr. Santiago, he's trying so hard.
All right, may we do this,
Yeah.
committee members? We're gonna post this on Facebook ASAP, and if you all just hit the page and.
We can still do it at our meeting too.
Yeah.
That's fine.
We'll still do it.
I think that would be a good idea.
It's great to see some of the things that I think. we have.
Yes, all right, we'll just have to punt it, but, so put it on for next time, but,
Thank you.
is that no, all right, I guess we just need to know if there's any public comment.
Not at this time, Mrs. Lawrence.
Nobody's here, so I guess there's no one here. Okay, then I guess we're done, and if no one else has anything to say.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, good meeting. Thank you.